Ever since I was a little kid, I dreamed about living in the Star Wars universe and getting to swing a lightsaber and go on adventures with Han and Luke and Leia and blast stormtroopers all day long. Disney just opened their Star Wars land called Galaxy's Edge, which was promised to be the closest thing to experiencing Star Wars in real life that there will ever be. This land was supposed to fill your childhood dreams and deeply immerse you into the amazing world of Star Wars. Now, after hearing that, even just the idea of a Star Wars theme park, there's not one Star Wars fan who wouldn't get excited. Star Wars means so much to so many people, and to think it could one day become a reality that you would be able to walk around in was hard to believe. The little kid inside of me almost exploded when I heard this was going to be a real thing. Disney announced their plans for everything so many years before opening that the wait seemed like it would never end. But now that the wait is over and Star Wars Land is officially open, there seems to be something missing from these empty streets. I wonder what it could be. Oh right, people. Where's all the people? Just the other day, Galaxy's Edge had its official opening to the public, and to their surprise, no one showed up. Well, that's not entirely true. They reached capacity as soon as it opened, but later in the next day, the streets were nearly empty. Now, how did this happen? Why did this happen? And I think I have an idea. Quite a few, actually. So this is what we're going to be discussing for the next few minutes. Subscribe if you're new here, and I want you to watch until the end of the video, so buckle up and hang on tight because this video is going to be a genuine Disney mess. I don't know how the largest growing empire in all of the entertainment industry could mess up something that's so important to so many of the people putting money in their pockets. Now, first off, I just want to go ahead and state that Disney's Galaxy's Edge is not all bad. No, by no means are we trying to say that. In fact, I could go on about all of the good things they're doing right with the park, but that's just not what's been on my mind recently, so we're going to be addressing the bantha in the room of why it flopped. Now, in the past years since the Disney reboot, they've had quite a few screw-ups that we were there for, and I'm sure you remember. There was a lot of negative things said about The Force Awakens when it came out, like how basic the character development for Rey was, or the fact that she could beat Kylo Ren with no former training, or the fact that she could use the Force to combat a Sith without ever using it before, or even the remixed Death Star killer base, or that Luke ran away never to be found but left a map on how you could find him, or maybe the fact that Phasma did absolutely nothing, or that Rey was the only one sent to Luke and not his sister or his best friend Han. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get carried away there, but all things considered, I still like the movie. It was The Last Jedi that I had problems with, and Solo too, but I already made a video on that. If you want to hear what I think about it, you should definitely check that out. But The Last Jedi... Can you hear me shaking my head? I will literally find myself randomly sad some days thinking about how dirty they did Luke's character. Rian Johnson absolutely butchered the Star Wars franchise here, and I'm holding on to the little strand of hope that JJ can do a decent job at tying the final knot on the Star Wars story. Now, this is the first time that Disney has actually taken a big financial hit since all these mistakes that they just can't ignore. Solo was a flat-out flop, much more than Last Jedi, but they basically ignored that one. But they can't do that this time. They've bet everything on this land. They spent $1 billion trying to bring this to life, and it's empty the next day. How on earth did this happen? It cost them almost $1 billion to build all of Epcot, and that's how much they ended up spending on Galaxy's Edge alone. Disney's over here breaking the bank, and Universal's over here like, we're going to add one new ride to the park, and there's 10-hour wait lines and the biggest influx of people they've seen come to the park in forever. Which, by the way, how did that happen? The last Harry Potter movie came out like 8 years ago, and one new ride still gets a 3-hour queue as soon as the park opens. It's definitely not because Harry Potter is more relevant than Star Wars. The fans are diehards, don't get me wrong, but since 2015, we've gotten almost 5 new big Star Wars movies, 3 new TV shows, yearly conventions, countless best-selling books. I mean, on paper, Star Wars Land should be twice as packed if they did the same thing as Universal did with Harry Potter World, but they didn't, did they? Because the one ride in Star Wars Land is only 30 minutes long, which is literally a walk-on for Disney lines during the summer. So they definitely did something different. Even Pandora has a consistent 4-hour wait. Now, I stumbled across this YouTuber, Ghost Robo, who made a quick video on his thoughts when he visited, and I really like the reason he gives, which I think definitely affected the success of the park. I want you guys to hear this.
I think where they screwed up is it's not based on a real place. It's based on an invented place, but instead of feeling like I was launched into Star Wars, I felt like I got shot to the wrong space. It kind of feels like it's off-brand Jakku or off-brand Tatooine, and I wonder why they didn't just go with real Tatooine or real Jakku. There's no notable landmarks, you don't feel like you're in Star Wars. Galaxy's Edge is like, wait a second, this kind of reminds me of Star Wars, but nothing looks familiar enough. And they've got some droids hanging out and some ships hanging out, but it feels kind of dead.
I wholeheartedly agree with what he's saying right there. This land, the concept of a Star Wars themed park, has so much potential, and Disney has such a big budget to bring that to fruition, but from what we've seen so far, it just doesn't look familiar. It just looks similar at best. The Falcon is cool, but without that, what's making it a Star Wars planet and not just another sci-fi world? When you go to Harry Potter World, you feel like you're in Harry Potter. I can totally see what he's saying, how it just looks like they tried to make it look like Star Wars Land. It's like it's Star Wars on Earth. But I don't want to go to Star Wars on Earth. When I go to Star Wars Land, I want to feel like I'm in Star Wars. I want to go walk around on the Death Star and then go walk through Luke's home on Tatooine or walk the halls of Cloud City. I don't care about continuity. I want to experience the Star Wars I grew up with. They did the same thing when they released the first Battlefront. They put staying true to the timelines over having fun in the game. They didn't want you to feel unimmersed, yes, in quotations, if there was Boba Fett and Count Dooku in the same game, and it sucked. Honestly, I think they did it just for the money so they could make 2 games, which I mentioned in my video I made before Battlefront 2 came out. But what I'm saying is Disney has done this before. They have no concept of reality here. Star Wars has been damaged by Disney recently, and this is the first instance where their actions have had actual financial repercussions. All the things we grew up knowing, loving, and dreaming about Star Wars is not there. Instead, Disney made their own version of it and wants you to go walk around in their timeline where all of our heroes are dead. Han is dead, Luke is gone, Princess Leia passed away recently, even Chewbacca isn't with us anymore. It sucks. It sucks that we don't get to walk around in the Star Wars universe that these legends lived in. That's where all my childhood dreams were, and that's what I would want to see someday. The new Star Wars is not what the old Star Wars was, and I don't think it ever will be. What they've built is essentially a really expensive mall, and the one ride that's open is a video game. The scenery is great, don't get me wrong, but after you walk around and see everything, there's nothing to do but buy things that run from 3 to 5 figures. I mean, at this point, I bet there's more people that would want a Marvel land than a Star Wars land, which apparently they're working on. I didn't know this until a minute ago. I actually just looked it up, and apparently they're making a Spider-Man ride where you go through a room with screens all around you, and you'll be swinging from the ceiling so it looks like you're 100 feet up in the air. That's cool. I'm excited for that. They're doing great with Marvel. I'm so happy with the direction they're taking it and the success they've had recently as they finish up Phase 3. Disney bet everything on Star Wars Land, and because of it flopping, the rest of the park has been hurt by it. When the few people who are at Disney are at the Star Wars Land, the rest of the park is a ghost town and all the ride waits go down to 5 to 10 minutes. The addition of Galaxy's Edge added an extra 20% to Disneyland's original capacity, which is insane, and it's now more dead than ever. I mean, yeah, they hit capacity on opening day, but since then, the vice president reported they haven't seen wait times this low in decades, as in tens of years. That's crazy. This is something they can't ignore. But the thing is, Disney doesn't like to acknowledge bad news. So every time we see some bad news, they're trying to counter it with some subpar good news. In their press releases, they're saying, yeah, park attendance is down dramatically, but guest feedback and satisfaction is really high. First off, those are basically the same thing. Guest feedback and satisfaction, they give feedback on if they're satisfied. Stop trying so hard to make it sound like some great news. And second, it's only high because they haven't had to wait in a ride that's over 30 minutes for the last 2 weeks. All the people that couldn't wait to go made reservations and went early. And then it just went back to normal crowds, which turned into much lighter than expected. Even back when The Last Jedi came out and toy sales dropped to like 50%, which is an enormous drop in business, they tried to blame it on Toys R Us going out of business. Like, for real? Seriously? Come on, even Pokemon and Nerf sold more toys than Star Wars did. For Pete's sake, the top selling item was a plush porg. That says it all right there. I mean, porgs are great and all, a little obnoxious, but still, people are starting to put their foot down and have stopped giving Disney their money as long as they keep butchering our beloved franchise. But the real question is, why is Disney a ghost town after opening up what should have been the most anticipated expansion in the history of Disney? Is it really because people are fed up with what they're doing to the franchise? Or do other factors play into it? And it just looks worse than it is. I mean, it could be that all the annual pass holders and castmates have blackout dates almost entirely throughout July and August. I just went to Disney here in Orlando, and that was not the case. Every ride was an hour long, and as the park got closer to closing, instead of going down, all the wait times went up. But this is most likely because Disney World is much more of a destination place that families will go out of their way to travel to over summer, whereas Disneyland is much more of a local-based theme park, and I don't doubt the opening of Galaxy's Edge in Orlando will be much bigger. I mean, the only other reason that people aren't packed into Galaxy's Edge might be because they only opened half a park. If it were me, I'd wait a few months until the big ride opens up so I can experience everything it has to offer. I mean, while Galaxy's Edge was still in production, all anyone could talk about was how packed it was going to be on opening day. So maybe that, along with the pass holders' blackout dates and the new ride opening in a few months, is why Disneyland has been a ghost town recently. And with all that being said, I'm still really excited to go and experience Galaxy's Edge. It looks really cool and I can't wait for the second ride to open up. I just wish Disney would listen to the fans and give us a little more of what we love about Star Wars. They're also working on building a Star Wars hotel that'll be like you're staying on board a spaceship, and they said that every single window will have a view of space. Like, what? That's crazy. How is that even possible? I mean, I'm really excited for that, almost more than the state of Galaxy's Edge is in now. The only thing is, you won't be able to stay in the hotel for more than 2 days, and there's only going to be around 100 rooms to stay in. This is much smaller than any other Disney hotel we've ever seen. Most have upwards of 1,000 rooms and some 2,000. This Star Wars hotel seems much more like a 2-day experience rather than a place to stay on vacation, which hopefully means they won't be stretching themselves too thin here, and the attention to detail and overall quality will be much better. I'm sure there'll be a long waiting list, but I'm really looking forward to that in the future. If any of you have been to Galaxy's Edge, tell me what you thought of it down in the comments. I want to know what you guys think about all this. Thank you for watching until the end of the video, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new here. I hope your summer's going well so far. It's been raining a lot here in Orlando, like every afternoon. I don't know how I forgot about that, but if you could send me some sunshine, it'd make me really happy. I should have another video out soon, but until then, I will see you guys in the comments. Peace.
There is nothing actually more meaningful and more special than to provide a place for people to experience Star Wars with their family for decades to come.
And spend thousands and thousands of dollars.